Jeremy Sochan has been a really fun rookie to watch this season. He's a versatile forward who I think has potential to be one of the best offensive players at his position in the league, and he also has showed a lot more offensive potential in the league than I thought he would, which has been very encouraging because that was a question mark for Sochan coming out of Baylor before the NBA. The Spurs are quietly building one of the better young cores in basketball that I think more people need to pay attention to, and Sochan is one of the most intriguing pieces of that core. He's a very fun player to watch, and I think he's going to be good for a very long time. Now, on the surface, Sochan's numbers may not look impressive. 10.5 points a game, 5.1 rebounds a game, 2.6 assists per game, 44.6 field goal percentage, 50.2 true shooting percentage. Not the most impressive numbers in the world, but with rookies, you have to watch the tape because it is more about potential than results in young NBA players' career, especially someone who's only 19 years old like Sochan is. And also the context of him playing with two 20-point per game scorers in Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. As a scorer right now, Sochan is best around the basket, which does line up with what he was projected to be entering the league. Sochan has excellent physical tools that allow him to be extremely effective within the arc. He's 6'9", 230 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan. On top of that, he's a good athlete. I wouldn't say he's quite a great athlete. He's not the twitchy freak athlete for the Giannis or the Sixers Ben Simmons back when that was a thing. But he is a very good one. He has very fluid movement skills and is a solid vertical athlete with decent speed for his position. In some ways, he reminds me a bit of the forward version of SGA as an athlete, where the athleticism is more about fluidity than it is about being twitchy. But Sochan has shown a real ability to score at the cup. He's shooting 60.8% on 3.9 restricted area attempts per game. He's shooting 52.5% on 6.4 in the paint area attempts per game. He's far from perfect as a finisher, but I am very encouraged by the signs on tape. And I do think, like with all rookies, the signs on tape are a bit more important than the numbers in the stat sheet. I think when it comes to offense, finishing at the basket is the foundation of his scoring because of his physical tools and motor, but he has flash potential in other areas of scoring as well. Sochan isn't a good shooter right now. He's shooting 25.4% from 3 on 2.2 3-point attempts per game. He's shooting 34.8% on less than 1 mid-range shot attempt per game. He's shooting 32.9% on 4.4 total jump shot attempts per game. Now, when I watch the tape, I actually like his upper body shot mechanics a decent amount. I think he has a good upper release and I actually like his form, but I do think he needs to work on his lower body shot mechanics. What I noticed on tape is that he does bend his knee a bit on set shots, and I do believe this allows defenders to catch up and get a better contest, and oddly enough, his shooting form actually looks way more smooth and fluid off movement than it does off a standstill. When he's taking pull-up shots and turnaround shots, the bend in his knee isn't as noticeable because he actually doesn't use it as much. And the results, make or miss, off of movement just look way more smooth and fluid than his set and standstill shots. I think fixing that bend in his knee will take his shot to another level, and it will lead to better results long term. It may take time to fix this because this is clearly a shooting form that Sochan has had for basically his entire life, more than likely, and tweaking a jump shot form does take time. You have to get the practice reps in, and then you got to get the game reps in, and that process usually takes about a year. And even with that year, the initial results are gonna be not great, but I do think long term it could do him wonders, as it has for plenty of other players. I will say, I am encouraged by his confidence to take jumpers, which is a positive sign on its own. So I do believe that his willingness to take jumpers and also taking the jump shot form and tweaking it a bit, specifically with his lower body mechanics, I do believe that he can be a positive shooter over time. I don't think Sochan will ever be a great shooter, but I do think he can grow into a respectable one in due time, which given his offensive profile, I think will be enough. What I'm actually most encouraged by on offense is Sochan's passing. Sochan has good vision and makes good reads for the most part, He has a functional handle that allows him to somewhat create as a playmaker, and he does have the height to see over defenses. I don't think Sochan will ever be a big-time primary playmaker. If he had a legit primary playmaking upside, 6'9", 230 pounds, he would have been a top 3 pick. But I do think Sochan can be an awesome connecting passer, someone that can make reads off the drive, someone that can make reads from the post, someone that can make reads off catches. He really just does a lot of things you look for in a connecting playmaker. He has decent feel as a passer, and it shows on tape. Despite the fact he doesn't have the basketball in his hands a lot, I think passing in a connecting role will be the biggest strength of Sochan's offensive game, which is why I want to see progression with his scoring to expand on this skill, and honestly the signs are encouraging already. Now on defense, I like Sochan a lot. In fact, I believe that it's the area that will be his biggest strength as an overall player long term, and it is what he was known for entering the league. He has good size and decent athleticism, he has good strength, he's relatively versatile in the coverages he can play on defense, he has the potential to be a really good stocks production player on defense, which means when you combine blocks and steals, he has long arms to play passing lanes and disrupt shots at the basket and on the perimeter. He has good feel on defense as well, especially for his age. I wouldn't say he's a true 1 through 5 defender because, again, not many of those actually exist compared to how much that term gets thrown around. So I'm not saying that as a knock on Sochan, it's more about how that term gets thrown around way too loosely and often. I think that Sochan can hold his own on switches, but I wouldn't stick him on a guard or big full time. I don't think he's going to be some island defender, someone you just put on the opposing team's best player on the perimeter and he's going to lock them down. And I think his value on defense is going to be more as a roamer with a ton of defensive versatility. He has a really good motor on defense, which is a very encouraging sign because I believe having a high motor on defense is the key for any elite defensive player, and Sochan has it. I think Sochan has perennial all-defense potential. He has all the tools you look for in an elite forward defender like this that may not be a full-time on-ball, hound your favorite player defender, but he is somebody that will be a staple on defense for a very long time, and likely one of their defensive anchors for a very long time. Sochan is a player I'm very confident will be very good for a very long time. Just based off his physical tools, feel for the game, and motor alone, I think he will have a long career. But I think Sochan has a chance to be a foundational piece for the Spurs moving forward. He's shown potential as a secondary passing playmaker in a connecting role, and elite defender at just 19 years old. And he does the little things that just don't show up in the box score as well. He has the potential to be super valuable without scoring a single point, and again, I can't overstate how valuable players are that can be a major positive impact on the game without really scoring at all. But he does have some scoring potential as well. Sochan is a player with a high floor due to what he's already showcased, but I think he has a decently high ceiling as well. Anything is possible, and I wouldn't count out the idea of outlier development with any young player, especially at 19 years old, and especially with the tools that Sochan has. I think at his best, Sochan can be a borderline all-star level player that's perennial all-defense. His progression as a shooter is going to be what dictates the heights he can reach as a player. If he can improve his form while still showing the willingness to take shots, I do think he's someone that could be a 15 plus to floating with 20 point per game scorer at his best. Like near 20 points a game being the high-end outcome, but with the progression that I think will happen, I think 15, 16, 17 points a game is more likely. I think he's going to average around 7 to 9 rebounds a game in the future as well, and I think he does have 5 plus assists per game potential as well. If he's averaging around 16 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game while being all defense level good, that's a player that could make a few all-star teams if the team he's on is good enough. And I like the Spurs' young core already, and if they get one of Wembanyama or Scoot, they could be very good for a very long time and be the level of team where what I believe Sochan's highest end outcome is could lead to all-star appearances. But regardless of that, if the Spurs rebuild is successful, I do believe Sochan will be one of the 3 or 4 most important players of that rebuild.